A retired Sioux Falls firefighter is turning his burning passion for history into a home project during the pandemic. Dave Renli has created an elaborate miniature Civil War battlefield that he hopes will inspire little historians in the future. Perry Groten takes you to the front lines of the blue and the gray on tonight's Eye on KELOLAND.
The Civil War has erupted inside Dave Renli's backyard man cave.
Most people go, you got a lot of time on your hands, don't you?
Renli travels the country taking part in Civil War reenactments. The pandemic has put a pause to those historical gatherings, so this hand-painted battlefield pitting the North versus the South serves as a kind of surrogate Civil War.
You know, you kind of stuck around the house and not as social as I normally am, and so painting a few figures turned into painting dozens of figures, which turned into, gee, how do I get them stacked so that they can be placed on a board? And
fellow reenactor Robin Duncan is impressed by Renli's Civil War recreation.
Well, it certainly depicts history, and history that, you know, I think a lot of people just brush over.
But when Renli brushes over history, it involves adding painstaking detail to each of hundreds of soldiers.
After you've painted the uniform, then you can come back in and touch up the belts and, you know, the pistol and the boots. And
Renli became interested in Civil War history while studying at the National Fire Academy near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, back in the 1990s.
And one of the books that was used in some of the classes was a book called The Killer Angels. It's a Pulitzer Prize-winning book about the Civil War, and it got me interested, and since I was 8 miles away, I would spend time up on the battlefield.
Renli wants to march his tiny troops beyond his Sioux Falls home as part of a traveling display to give kids a hands-on lesson in Civil War history.
I have 200 pre-painted or partially painted figures that then the kids will get a few of them to play with, and they can dab on the paint where they need to.
An elaborate tribute to those who fought and died during the Civil War, created during the pandemic, captures a moment in time that resonates today.
It's not just a story that we get to sit around a campfire and talk about, but it impacted real lives, just like the pandemic is today. This will be history at some point, and so it needs to be preserved.
The Civil War in miniature. Dave Renli's artistic accomplishment shows that a conflict that ended slavery and preserved the Union more than a century and a half ago was no small feat.
This is just a little board. There's just over 400 or 500 soldiers on that. But when you think of battles that had 200,000 people at them, it was massive.
With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Perry Groten.